This week on the Deep Leadership Podcast.
Think of yourself as a leader and, you know, push yourself, realize your potential. We need really excellent leaders here in the world. We really do. We can all look around and say, like, we need better leaders. Well, everyone has a potential to do that.
This episode is brought to you by the Salty Sailor Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Deep Leadership Podcast. Salty Sailor is a veteran-owned coffee brand on a mission to deliver premium, fresh roasted coffee while making a positive impact in the world. Their motto is drink coffee and do good, which reflects their commitment to making amazing coffee and actively supporting the military community. 10% of every order goes to the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, an organization dedicated to helping sailors, Marines, and their families in times of need. All our listeners get 10% off every order of their amazing coffee by using the discount code DEEP at checkout. So check them out at saltysailorcoffee.com. Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Susan Ireland. Susan is a leadership powerhouse with over 30 years at Boeing and contributions to entrepreneurial ventures like HyTech Power. Alongside Debbie Collard, she co-founded Seasons Leadership to address gaps in leadership education. Their company offers one-on-one coaching, business consulting, and training, with the added bonus of free bi-weekly podcasts and blogs that makes high-quality leadership education accessible to everyone. I'm excited to have her on the show to learn from her leadership experience. So, Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, John. It's great to be here.
It is great to meet you, an honor to meet you. And first of all, I want to start off. You have an interesting, you had an interesting career. So you went from a new hire at Boeing, and you end up as the director of business operations for the Boeing 787 development team. So that's a big growth. So you went from, probably riding a cubicle to
Oh,
corner
yeah.
office. What are some lessons you learned along the way that you can tell other leaders who might be in the beginning of their career? What did you learn through that experience?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because you can be in the moment and then you can have a long career like I did and look back. And I realized, looking back, some of the big lessons learned, right? Because at least I didn't see it in the moment. But I think the biggest thing is how I saw myself.
Hmm.
So when I first was hired in at Boeing in the mid 80s, 1980s, the last century, um, I joined Boeing because it was a good company, it was local, they had great benefits, and it's a good job. So I jumped in, and my personality type is I just jump in and I do the best I can do. But I didn't see myself like, I didn't see myself as a leader. I just saw myself as an employee. And so that's the biggest thing, right? So I was grateful. It was a great job, and I worked with people who helped me along. Um, but it wasn't for a while before I thought, like, oh, I can do more. And I really uh, realized that through the help of others. People saw in me potential and encouraged me. And I'm forever grateful for those people that, they saw and encouraged me. And so I, said, yeah, I want to do more and learn more. And it was kind of through that. So that was my, how I started. And that's how I kind of went. So I kind of went with the flow and the program that Boeing had. And they don't have a program per se, but there are career paths that you can take, and there's training you can have when you meet certain levels and that kind of thing. So I went along with that. And it wasn't until probably mid-career where I really had a mind switch Like,
Mm.
oh, wait a second. I'm in charge of my career here. What do I want to do? And what do I need to do to get that? So that's the biggest lesson is to see yourself in all your potential. And that's hard to do, I realize. But so reach out and connect with other people around you, people that you respect and who you like what they do, you like how they lead, you are interested in what they say, and start to get feedback from others about what they see about you. So you're a little bit too maybe you're a fish in the water. You can't see around you, you just know you're in the water. So if you have some help with that, it will expand your view.
I love that you've said there's like two sides of it. One is having people around you that notice your potential, right? And help guide you along the way. So I would say in my career, I had that as well. But also you said at some point you have to make a switch and say, look, no one else is going to help me in my career. I have to manage my own career. And this is the one of the areas I think people don't recognize is that they think other people will help them along their career path, but really it's your job to manage your own career. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really big mindset shift.
It is. It is. It really puts you in the driver's seat,
Hmm.
which is kind of scary, right? Because you
Yeah,
don't have anybody to blame but
right.
yourself when things don't go maybe your way. But it's a bit we are super powerful people, I think. And we I believe that the biggest obstacle to our growth is ourselves.
Hmm.
So how we see ourselves, what we will risk doing and take a leap of faith. We're so afraid of maybe looking foolish or bad or having a failure that we hold ourselves back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. So it's those two things. And again, like you said, our biggest obstacle is ourselves. And it's interesting. One of the things I found in my career was that people saw potential in me, but also gave me an opportunity for a challenge. And
Hmm.
so I took a challenge. I took a risk, like I was 5 years in a company, and I started as a new hire, and they wanted me to run a manufacturing plant in another city. And I took the risk and did it. And that was the big stepping stone in my career. But someone had to recognize that I had the potential to do it,
Yeah.
first of all, because I had showed promise in other fields. But also you have to make a decision that, okay, this is going to be challenging. This is going to be way outside my comfort zone. I could fail, but I also could succeed. And to me, that's what
Yes.
got me into, running manufacturing businesses, which I did for 30 years. So, but
Yes.
but you're right. But sometimes you have to take that risk and have some, faith in yourself, even if you feel like you don't have that experience or knowledge.
Right. Well, what you're describing here is something that we at Seasons Leadership really believe in because
Mm.
so we're kind of talking like, this is a nice and it's a theory, right? You
Yeah.
like take some risks, that kind of thing. But really, when we say take some risks, it really is like get out of your comfort zone. This is not comfortable in the least,
Yeah.
right? And here, if I had a Venn diagram here, I'd show you. So, uh, in order to grow fast, what you need is three things. You need a project or issue or something that matters.
Mm.
So when you took this job in the manufacturing plant leading that mattered, right? You really cared about being successful and you knew the risks of failing,
Mm.
right? So you're like invested.
Yes.
Then you also need, so then the idea is you're pushing your comfort zone. So
Mm.
this is not something that you already know how to do. You don't have the answers. So you're in this situation that really makes your stomach flip-flop. And you're probably staying up at night because you're worried about it. You're pushing your boundaries and learning new things faster than you even thought was imaginable. Those two things, though, those aren't enough. That could, if you only had that, you might not grow and you might get burnout. What you need is the third factor, the third circle in the Venn diagram, and that is people to talk to help make meaning about what you're going through, to
Yes.
process issues and problems and feelings, and somebody who's been there that can help you with this whole thing. If you have those three things, you will accelerate your growth so fast. You'll make your head spin and everybody's around you spin.
I love that. I love that. I would tell you this, my story is I became the youngest plant manager in this particular plant's history. I was 32 years old. I had a plant all by myself. I was the senior person on this site. It was kind of a remote location. But there was one guy on site that didn't report to me. He just happened to live in the area and had an office in our plant. And he was the guy I talked to. He was the person
Mhm.
I went in and shut the door because he was the only person on this site that didn't report to me. So he was my person that I could talk to and share what I was feeling and what I was going through and the frustrations. And he didn't have a dog in the fight. He actually worked in business development. He wasn't even part of my operation.
Yeah.
And so having that resource was critical for me to vent, to ask him ideas, to what do you think about this? I did this. Does that make sense? And that was really powerful. So that
Yes.
third element is really critical.
It is critical. We call that at Seasons Leadership, and we didn't come up with this. This is a concept that is, out there, but we love it. We've taken it on as our own. Is we say turn up the heat, but you
Mm.
can't turn up the heat without those three things.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's so powerful. That is really, really good advice. I can envision what the Venn diagram looks like in my head, one of those three things working together to really turn up the heat in your career. Yeah, that's what's
Right,
going to
right.
give you those opportunities.
So people who are in companies or then when they ask if they're interested in advancing, ask their bosses, give me a project, but don't give me a project that I already know how to do,
Mm,
which is, as the boss, you might want to do that because you want to assure success. But if you want to develop your people, push them, get them out on the edge where it's something where it really matters and support them with, being present and helping and being supportive. But, you know,
yeah, I think if you got great employees and you give them a challenging assignment, and again, like you said, you're there for them to help them be successful through that. I think you both learn through the experience. So
yes,
that person learns, oh yeah, this is what I really want to do, and they get fired up and they become really successful in that field, or they say, you know what, that wasn't for me. I
right,
thank you for the opportunity, but and that's both those answers are critical for you as a leader to learn. Okay, this employee tried something, it was out there outside the comfort zone, they didn't like it, and that's fine.
right, right.
That's an important data point as well.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So we need to learn. And the way you learn is to have those experiences. Yeah.
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 I wish there was a more comfortable way to do it. I
Yeah.
just, I don't know that I've come across it in my career or my experience to it just doesn't stick as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely see that in my career as well. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, what compelled you to start Seasons Leadership? What was your purpose? What did you see that was missing that really needed work?
Well, it is the age-old reflection of once you have gone through a process. Debbie and I both got together and we were talking to each other, and we both said, I wish we would have known then
Mm,
what we know now. and we both became coaches, and we said this is why we did it, and we thought together we can be super helpful to people who are in the beginning, middle, or even end of their career, but they just don't know what they don't know.
Mm.
So we thought we would support leaders, and we believe that everybody's a leader somewhere. So it could, people, when they say leaders, we've had people say, well, I don't want to take your classes or have a coach because I'm not a leader. But again, they're thinking small.
Mm.
Uh, we're leaders at home, in our churches, in our schools, in our communities, with our friend group. And being a better leader, I think, can change the world. And that's what we want to do, one leader at a time.
One leader at a time. Well, the purpose of this podcast is to build a world with better bosses. You're doing the same thing, so we're on the same page
Yeah.
here. So I absolutely
Yeah,
love that.
we got the same mission.
We're on the same mission. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. You have one process, some framework that you use called the Earn, Own, and Grow framework. Can you tell us a little bit
Right.
about that and how leaders can use it to perform well, regardless of what kind of leadership position they're in?
Well, it's so simple, but that's the other thing that we like is simple like
Mm,
models just to remind you so you can stay on track. Anything too complicated, we all forget, right?
right.
But it's just earn your position. So wherever you are, whether it was by choice or somebody placed you there, you bring your best attitude, your best self, and you do your job with the best performance that you can every day. Like, just earn it, because so often we find ourselves in these positions and um, I don't, our mind is elsewhere. We're not giving it our all. And and that shows. People know
Mm,
that, you can tell by looking in somebody's eyes, they're not really with me here. They don't care about this or whatever. So just be there, be present and earn it. Have a good attitude. Um, you don't know everything. Nobody does. So just continually learn and grow and just earn it.
mm,
Then the next one is own that position. Treat that job like you owned it and be responsible for understanding all aspects of the job and consider how to improve it. So, know what the processes are, know if you have who your customers are, who your suppliers are. And so, for an example, at Boeing, so it's a huge company, and I was not external facing, I didn't sell the airplane and I didn't talk to the suppliers, but it was super important for me to know and my team to know who our customers were and what was important to them. Because what we did on the inside, kind of back office kind of stuff, affects the customer experience. So then you can influence, how that all works on the inside. Maybe it's faster responses, or maybe it's a different response, or maybe it's something different offering that we see that maybe somebody else didn't just because of our unique position. Knowing the suppliers, what they supply, and I used to always tell people we're not assembling the airplane, but it's really important to know how to build an airplane. So you
mm,
don't have to get out your wrench and get out there and do it, but how it comes together and it is super important. So that's what I mean, owning your job, like own like you're an owner, not
mm.
just an employee coming in for the day and doing their position and checklist and leaving.
I love it.
The third thing is grow in the position. Never stop being curious and learning, continually investing in yourself. So whether it's going into classes, getting a coach, um, networking, finding out more about your company, finding out more about the community that your company is in, to how it all relates, because it's all, we're all an interrelated system here. So, there's always places to learn and grow.
It's interesting if you take that approach, this earn, own, and grow approach to your job, no matter what it is, you avoid complacency, right? If you're constantly
Yes,
working to earn that job, to own that job, and to grow in that job, you're never going to stop learning. There's always
right.
something that you can learn and get better at. So,
That,
I often hear people say, "Well, I've been doing it for 20 years." But do you have 20 years experience, or do you have 20 years of 1 years of 1 year of experience, right? Have you really
that's
had 20
great.
years of growing, right?
That's
And
a great insight. Thank you for
yeah,
that.
but the point is that if you do these things, you're going to continue to be adding value, growing personally, and being effective for your organization. They're
Right.
gonna want you to, that a person that earns, owns, and grows in their job they're valuable to companies.
It's true. And it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether
Yeah.
you are just in a new hire position or you're the CEO. This applies to every level. And
Mm,
it's not only does the company want you, but this is a really positive way just to be. It's very fulfilling to be, invested in what you're doing. We spend so much time at work that if we are, paying attention and wanting to improve it and knowing who is it touches and everything, it becomes interesting, and it's just more satisfying to come to
mm.
work every day. Now, I know that probably 100% of the days is hard, but I'd rather have more of these type of days than less.
Yeah, yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. I know in my second book, I wrote a chapter called Earn Your Oxygen. And
Ah,
like I was a submarine officer in the beginning when I first started my
oh,
leadership journey. And so that was one of the things they told us when you first got on board a submarine is that they said, you are not qualified right now. You're new, right? And you have to earn your oxygen and food. The people around you who are qualified, they have earned their oxygen and they have earned the right to be in the dining room and eat their food. You are taking food and air away from people who are qualified. So there was this high level of positive peer pressure to earn
yeah,
your way on a submarine. And I
yeah,
learned, and I took that away when I went into the civilian world. I felt the same way when I took on my first job in the
yeah,
civilian. I was like, I have to earn this job. I have to earn my
yeah,
oxygen, even though there wasn't that positive peer pressure. I felt it on myself because I was
yes,
in an environment like that where the team held me accountable to
yes,
earning my place.
yeah. That's a little too real for me, John. Mean
Yes.
but I super appreciate that. That really got into your DNA, didn't it, about that? And that's how I see that's how you approach life now.
Yeah,
And
you have to earn it. And I
yeah,
think and I think that's I think a lot of military groups, like Navy SEALs, to earn that trident,
yeah,
to earn a submarine dolphins, to be qualified as a submariner, there's a hard amount of a lot of work, and it
yeah,
was hard, and not everybody did it.
yeah,
Not everybody succeeded. And so you had to earn the right to be
yeah,
there, and I think we take, as you say, we sometimes take our jobs too lightly.
yeah,
And especially if you've been, so I often say, if you're promoted to leadership, it's because someone put their faith in you and
yes,
trusted you to take on an important role where you are influencing other people in the organization. You
yeah,
can't take that lightly. You have to take that
right,
seriously.
right. Yes, especially the higher up you go, you really do impact people at all levels. And, and it's personal.
Hmm.
You impact somebody, how they feel about themselves, when they go home, how they perform at work. And it's an awesome responsibility. And I mean awesome, like huge
Hmm.
responsibility. And I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah, take it seriously. Earn that right.
Mhm.
I really like that perspective.
Yeah,
Earn, own, grow framework. Very simple to understand, but very important in terms
right.
of career development, in terms of being effective as leaders. I like the other thing you said in terms of grow is be curious, never stop learning. And we can get complacent in our jobs and we need to
Yeah.
stay curious.
Yeah. I think our brains work this way too, in that sometimes, you know, we, I don't want to say lazy, but our brains, when we get used to something,
Hmm.
then we go, yeah, yeah, I know this. Been here, done that. I know the answer. And it's just a way, to be more efficient, right? Been here,
Yeah.
done this. I don't need to spend my brain power on this right now. But this is the job of a leader at any level is to remain curious because we haven't seen this before, right? This, whatever it is the first time this has happened here. So it's really curious to stop, wait, and ask, like, what's different here?
Yes. Yes.
Because we get into those traps,
Yeah.
right? So just it takes effort to be curious. It does.
I think it takes a little bit of humility too, because I've been doing, I've been running manufacturing businesses for 30 years, and I like to say that I've seen it all, and I pretty much have seen most things, right? But I always stay humble, and I love listening to even younger employees, their observations of things,
Yes.
and the amount of times I go, wow, I've never thought of it that way. To young employees
Yes.
seeing something for the first time with a childlike observation and that I miss because I've sort of like you said our brain sort of like I've done this before, it's no big deal, but I
Right.
love it when I hear an observation I never thought of before from a younger employee and I'm like, oh shoot, I never thought of that.
Is
Yeah.
it, there was I had this is just my own process for when I was as the boss and I'd hire somebody. And so I would say to this new hire person, and it might be not a new hire to the company, but new hire to me and to my group, that okay, you got 6 months here. Your job into 6 months is to learn the processes and all of that, but you need to question everything
Mm,
because we are sucked into the system. We can't see the water we're swimming in, but a new person to the group can. But
yeah.
only it seems like after 6 months, then they're starting to be sucked into the system. So that I agree with you with a new person, they see the things like, why are you doing that? And you think like, I don't know why we're doing that. We've been doing that for the last 20 years. And they see like it's like redundant or not needed or which you don't
Yeah.
even see because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I've always thought the best mix of a team is a mix of experienced people and people from maybe potentially from the outside that are new
Yes.
to our organization or the way we do things. Because I think you need you need the experts that have the history and and
Mhm.
the understand the organization, how things get done, but you also need those fresh eyes that go, why do we do it that way again? And I hate
Exactly.
it when I'm the leader and I've been running a team for a while and someone sees something that I miss. I'm like, how did I not see that,
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I think like, oh my gosh, that's so fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Because yeah.
It is really neat. Yeah. In fact, we just had a situation today because I own my own manufacturing company now. And this morning we had a new employee starting day one today. And he was drilling out some holes and he's like, why do we drill these? And one of the other employees says, well, we need it to be able to mount this particular nameplate on it. So we have to drill them out. He said, well, why don't they come pre-drilled from our vendor so we don't have to we were sitting here drilling all these pieces out and I heard the conversation. I just went, "Oh, that's really a good point." So it's a really
See,
good question.
that is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But you just can't see it. And it's nobody's fault. It's just how we do it.
right, right.
Yeah.
We've done it that way for years. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask you about, I know you talk about visionary leadership, and I thought that would be interesting to
Mhm.
mention as well. Um, in your opinion, what is visionary leadership, and why should leaders also be visionary in their approach?
Well, if you think about leadership in, when you're leading people, groups of people, excuse me, and you want, sorry, you want the ability to inspire and motivate people to action. So, um, you, how you behave is so important because people are watching you,
Mm,
right? I mean, no, even if you think they're not watching, they're watching you. So there's an element of just realizing that you're, as a leader leading a group of people, um, there's always an element of always being on.
mm,
So, so having a vision and living that vision is part of being a visionary leadership. So, first of all, you have to have a vision. So you set the vision and then you communicate it. Um, but you demonstrate that with your actions and your words, and you show how that vision aligns with your values and your ethics. So there's depth to that vision and to you as a leader. And then you take that and you balance that vision with all your stakeholders, so you keep in mind that this vision is going to affect, you remember who it is going to affect. Could be employees, it could be customers, suppliers, the community you're in. It could be people who retired from your business are very interested. It could be colleges where people are coming in, or community colleges. And so you're communicating that vision, and why it's important to all of these constituents, stakeholders. And then you hold that like very clear. You're talking about it a lot. And then as you develop strategies and actions and plans, you are ensuring that there's a tie there. There's
mm.
a reason, right? And so you inspire, you want other people to contribute, but you, as the visionary leader, are holding that vision, holding the thread to the strategies and plans, the results, and communicating how this is working, the progress of it, holding everybody accountable, recognizing when things go right, keeping it going. You are, by doing this, you're demonstrating responsibility, your authenticity, and the importance of what you're doing. And you're honoring the people who are working for you and who are supporting you, uh, with, and respecting them for their contributions.
I love this because I think it's human nature to want to be part of something bigger than yourself, and to
Yes,
understand what, not just the what do we do here, but why do we do it. And I think it's the
yeah,
leader's job to communicate the why, and again hold the torch and say this is why we do what we do.
yes,
But also, I think what you really said was really powerful, and it really hit me, was we have to live it every day because we're
yes.
being observed.
Yes. Well, and the reason why I think this is so important, this is not easy
Yeah.
because uh, it's easy to write down a vision statement, to write down your values, write down the ethics, all of that. That's easy. The hard thing is living it uh, a day to day, as the pressures of the fire drills that happen and the pulling of everybody to get you to be busy and do something and answer emails or whatever it is. And we forget this. And then we're just checking the boxes every day.
Yeah.
And we wonder why aren't people motivated? Why aren't they doing, why aren't they, making the plan? that we set out. Well, they don't see it as important because you, the leader, are not demonstrating it, not talking about it, not recognizing what's going well, what's maybe needs help. It is so much communication. That's another thing that I talk a lot about with leaders that we coach, is that you think you have over communicated,
Mm.
but it's just not possible. You've got to repeat this over and over and over again, because people hear different things. Some people like to read it. Some people hear it. Some people, I don't know, put it to music, do whatever it takes
Yeah.
I'm kidding about that, but maybe somebody would, but I
No,
couldn't.
that's something we've covered on this show before. Is that this is something I've learned over the years too, is that if you think you've communicated enough, you haven't. And
No,
you have to, it's like a marketing message where it has to be told 7 times in 7 different ways before someone realizes it's important. So it's essential. I often say that if you spend a lot of time coming up with a plan, you need to spend more time with that, getting people on board. And
it's true.
because it's really important to get everybody on board. And I like what you talked about there too, is if you get distracted, right, by the day-to-day work, and then, or what's even worse is if you make a decision that's inconsistent with what you said, the vision of our
Yes,
of where, then suddenly it's you're telling the group it's not important. Because
exactly.
when it came down to it, I made the decision against our vision, and then suddenly it's not
Exactly.
important.
Yes. And everybody sees that. That goes back to everybody's watching.
Right.
All the time, everybody's watching.
So our words are important, but just as important as our actions are important as
Yes.
well. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a very hard thing to be a leader.
It really is. It really is. But again, I think the important thing is to remember what your job is as the leader, right?
Yes.
And this is being visionary and setting the stage for this, and holding yourself and everybody else accountable to what your mission is and your values and all of that. If you have that in your mind, that's the most important job you have as a leader, you'll do it. But so often people are promoted because of their expertise,
Mm,
and so they lean into that expertise the higher they go. But that's not what the job is calling for.
mm.
So your expertise is nice, but your job is calling to be a leader.
Your job as a leader changes. When you get that
Yeah.
job as manager, your first management job, it's no longer about yourself. It's about the people that work
Yeah.
that work under you and work for you,
Yeah.
and you got to take care of that. This
Yeah.
has been fantastic, Susan. I really appreciate it. What final message would you like to leave with our listeners?
Oh, that's always a tough one. I should have something ready. I think it's like, lean into being a leader. Think of yourself as a leader, and you know push yourself, realize your potential. We need really excellent leaders here in the
Mm,
world. We really do. We can all look around and say, like, we need better leaders. Well, everyone has a potential to do that. And so, turn up the heat.
turn up the heat. I love that. It's great advice. Lean into it. You can do it, and the world needs better leaders. Absolutely. I love
Yeah,
that point. We really need it. You see it everywhere
yeah,
you go. We have poor leaders, and we need better leaders, and you can be
yeah,
it. And you don't have to have a certain education level. You don't have to have,
right.
it's not an elite organization. Anyone can be a leader. You can be a leader in your community, in, like you said, all around you, in your family, at work, and community. So
Mhm.
do it. Become a great leader. This has been fantastic. Susan, how can people find out more about you and your company?
Great, thank you. I think the easiest way is through our website, which is www.seasonsleadership.com. We've got links to everything there, and I think, John, you'll have more links in the show notes for this, right?
Absolutely. We're going to have links in the show notes for all of Susan's resources. And again, if something in this, you're listening to this conversation, you're a new leader, and maybe you're struggling, maybe you're trying to figure it out, and you've heard this, this Venn diagram of things that you need to work on, and maybe you have some questions, I really highly encourage you to reach out to Susan. That's why we bring guests on the show. We bring experts on the show for a reason, to give you this facet, a different facet of leadership maybe you didn't think about. In this case, a lot of great career advice for young leaders, new leaders, growing leaders. If something interests you, I highly encourage you to reach out to Susan. So follow the links in the show notes below and reach out to Susan, ask her a question. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer your question and guide you along the journey, because she wants you to be a better leader. I want you to be a better leader, and the world needs you to be a better leader. Yeah. So Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all of your experience and wisdom on the topic of leadership.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.